Hi everyone, this is video 23. Mrs. Bukaki here again. This corresponds to section 3.3 in your book, and it's titled Systems of Inequalities. So today we're going to do some more graphing to find our solutions, and we'll be working with inequalities. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, I want to solve a system by graphing. So remember the rules for graphing an inequality. Solve for y, or put it in slope-intercept form. Graph the line like an equation. Is it solid or dashed? And then don't forget to shade. Now remember, we're solving an inequality. So we've solved lines where two lines meet. Where two lines meet is your solution. With inequalities, where two regions meet, where your shaded areas meet, that will be your solution. So let's take a look one more time with the rules. Solve for y, graph the line like an equation. Do I have solid or dashed lines? And then don't forget to shade. So let's start with number 1. Here's my system. I have x minus 2y is less than 6. And y is less than or equal to negative 3/2 x plus 5. So let's start with this first equation and get it in the form of slope-intercept. So let's solve for y. I'm going to put x on the other side, so I have a negative 2y is less than negative x plus 6. And I want to divide by a negative 2. Divide everything by a negative 2. And on my left, I'm left with y. Now remember, when we divide by a negative, our inequality sign changes. So now it's going to be greater than. Y is greater than. And for the sake of seeing slope a little easier, x over 2 is acceptable, but you can also write it as 1/2 x. That's the same thing. 1/2 x, and then 6 divided by negative 2 minus 3. So there's our first equation. Our second equation here looks like it's in simplest form, y equals mx plus b, so we're good to go. So let's start graphing this. Get my axes. And let's start with this first equation. So y is less than or equal to negative 3/2 x plus 5. So I'm going to start at 5, my slope-intercept. I'm going to start here, and my graph goes down 3 and to the right 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I have 3 points. That's good enough to graph. And remember, I have an inequality of less than or equal to, so I want a solid line. And then lastly, where do I shade? Well, my equation here tells me that I want y values that are less than or equal to negative 3/2 x plus 5. So I'm going to shade below. Less than, shade below. Okay. So that takes care of our first inequality. Let's take a look at our second. I have a y-intercept of negative 3. So I'm going to go down 3, start there, and it looks like I have a positive slope of 1/2. So up 1 to the right 2, up 1 to the right 2, up 1 to the right 2. Alright. Let's take a look at our inequality sign. We have a greater than, which means our line is dashed. Okay. Then lastly, which way do we shade? Well, it tells me that y is greater than this. Y values are greater than this, which means I'm going to shade above. Okay. So it looks like, kind of like I said before, when two lines intersect, that point where they meet is going to be your solution. Where two inequalities intersect, the shaded region is going to be your solution. So a way to check that, you can plug in anything. You can plug in anything that is that is in this overlapping region to check your answer. So I could pick, say for instance, -1, +2. Let's do that. So if I choose -1 and +2 to plug in, it's a bad 2. -1 and +2 to plug in, I'll choose x minus 2y is less than 6. I'm just using my equation that I have up top. Let's see if this is true. So for x, -1 minus 2 times 2 is less than 6. -1 minus 4, is that less than 6? -5 less than 6. Yes. Okay. All right, let's try another example. Here's my inequalities. Let's start by graphing the first one. Y is less than or equal to -2x plus 4. So I'll start at my intercept of 4 right here. And it looks like I have a negative slope of 2 over 1. So down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1. 3 points will give us a nice read of our line. And again, it looks like it is going to be solid. Alright, so last part of this, let's find out where we shade. So it says y is less than or equal to all of this. So I'm going to shade below. I need to choose y values that are less than this line. Okay? Shade blue. Good. And let's take a look at our second inequality. I have x is greater than -3. So when we have something that looks like this, it tells us that it crosses the x-axis. If I had a y is greater than -3, it crosses the y-axis. So I'm going to cross the x-axis at -3. Right here. I can just kind of make some arbitrary points along where x is equal to -3 and draw my line. And it is a dashed line. Good. Okay, so our last step is to shade. I need x values that are greater than -3. X values that are greater than -3. So that's going to put me in this region here. Okay, so where's our solution at? Well, it looks like we overlap kind of right in this triangle right here. Let me outline it. You can get a better look. We kind of have a nice triangle. Oh, and excuse me, I guess everything under this point as well. Okay? So we overlap all in this area. That's going to be our solution.